Could it be that Adam Silver is thinking, with regards to the criticism that you mentioned with, develop out the WNBA first, develop out North America before you go to Europe, all these things. With the amount of money that the NBA is pulling in, could I reasonably say, why not have it all?
That's true to improve it. Then why are we having an officiating issue in the WNBA? Why are we having a charter issue in the WNBA? These are professionals. They invest money into the league. I mean, that's where I see fit. If you don't see the WNBA as worth investing to, then get rid of it. I mean, that's within their prerogative. I mean, I don't understand how you have an investment and then I'm going to curse here, half-ass the investment. That doesn't really make any sense to me. So I've always wondered that. I'm like, you have this league as an asset in your portfolio. Why are you only allocating minimal resources to it if you want to see it thrive?
The NBA, it seems like from what we're hearing and seeing, we've been tiptoeing around this idea of expansion for the NBA. Seattle mentioned, Las Vegas, of course, those being, I think, the two strongest favorites if we're looking at, in America, expansion anyway. And there was a period of time, maybe a week or two, where Adam Silver really walked that back. And I think there was a lot of disappointment. And now it seems like the reason maybe that we aren't expanding here in the States is that Adam Silver might be playing some global chess here and be looking to expand, set up somewhat of a dream scenario NBA Europe League. The dynamics of this are interesting, so I'm curious to get your guys' thoughts, because it looks like there are 6 or 7 teams that are going to be up for licensing, like their licensing agreements will be done, and they might be able to sign and jump ship with a new league the NBA might be making. This opens up opportunities for that league to run on itself, kind of, I would assume, in competition with the EuroLeague. And then it gives a lane for more NBA exhibitions overseas for both teams there. So thoughts on what you guys have seen regarding this, and do you think something like this could work and make sense? And we've talked about for a long time the NBA being a global brand. I mean, really since the Dream Team broke ground overseas, even potentially before that, with the fame and the golden age of the 80s, making it had to be by VHS, but people did watch it on tape overseas. So Justin, I'm curious, I know you watch like EuroLeague soccer from time to time, Premier League, things like that. Can the NBA tiptoe in and pull some of these teams to form an NBA Europe?
Yeah, so are you talking of the licensing deals? Are you talking about the teams within EuroLeague? Is that
I believe so.
Okay, all right. So let me read you what The Athletic recently wrote, and then I'll give you my thoughts. So The Athletic recently wrote a piece about this. They spoke to the EuroLeague CEO, I'm going to butcher his name, Paulius Monteunis, but I'm sure that's incorrect. So the writer posed this question. So he said, quote, most people see that if the NBA expands to Europe and starts a league, that would be a bit of a threat to the EuroLeague. Do you see it that way? And do you feel like that's changed now that you guys are on better terms? So from the CEO, he said, quote, I don't see it as a threat to us, to the league. We can see it from the TV deals. We can see it from the sponsorship. We can see it from the interest of the clubs to play for EuroLeague. That is not a threat, and it's more confusion. And if you look at the bigger picture, I keep repeating this, we need to care about the game of basketball and the fan of basketball. This new league would create confusion. It would create division on this simple terms. And you go to the sponsor, you say, I'm now this new, NBA league. And then we go, well, the EuroLeague. And then, there's a Champions League and there's Euro Cup. And for the hardcore fans, everybody knows EuroLeague. Everybody knows Europe. and we are not afraid to lose these fans because we believe we have a better product right away on the court. So I will say whether or not they get teams from the EuroLeague to jump ship to this new league, or if they just create some teams or whatever, this is a horrendous idea. 1,000% horrendous idea. So you mean to tell me, and Alan was on this call with me, we talked to Sabrina Merchant of The Athletic about refereeing in the WNBA and the differences between referees in the NBA and the WNBA. So let me get this straight. You can't pay the referees in the WNBA in terms of what they make in the NBA, but you want to start this NBA Europe League that you don't know that you're going to dump millions and millions and billions of dollars to that might fail, but yet you have a WNBA product that is now starting to grow, that is going to, as rapidly expanding now that you can't invest in the fundamentals to. Then what are we doing? Then you might get rid of the WNBA then. Why you have this league? And why you have the G League. I just think you have leagues now that need your attention. Why are you investing in this league that already has a league in Europe that has taken most of the market share already? Why are you going to create this other league? I don't really understand. I get that Europe is a top market, but you have leagues with dedicated fan bases. Lee Ellis will tell you that. We had him on the show. He's been there during the EuroLeague, Cup final, how passionate these fans are. And all of a sudden you're going to rip that away and take some of these teams to form this new NBA EuroLeague. I think this is a horrendous idea. I don't know. I think if the NBA was to explore international expansion, I think it's wise to strengthen the deals with existing leagues. So with EuroLeague, with the NBL of Australia, with some of the leagues within Mexico, and then strengthening those bonds in terms of crossover appeal and maybe having some kind of like Champions League in the summer or something like that. But in terms of creating some kind of new league, this is a horrendous idea. I think this is terrible.
Interesting. I want to go back to that and bounce some thoughts. But Alan, I want your take on all this too.
Yeah, first of all, Justin, I agree with the Champions League idea. We've talked about it before. I've always thought we should have a thing where you have the top, in the middle of the season, you have the top 4 teams from each league get into it, right? And have a tournament. I think that would be awesome. What's interesting to me is that Adam Silver just met with I think his name, it's Keir Starmer, who's the prime minister. So EuroLeague is big, but it's really not big, say in Northern Europe, right? You don't have there's not like a big Ireland or London or Manchester. There's so
One more Eastern. Yeah.
it's more Southern and Eastern, right? It's more Spain and the Balkans are the really hotbeds of the EuroLeague. So there's an opportunity, and maybe that's what Silver's looking at, an opportunity for Northern Europe to get to get some teams there. I look at that and I think, and I agree with you, Justin. I mean, like, is that where the money should go? Is that where your investment should be? And does it dilute the talent of both the domestic and the EuroLeague? And I don't know the answer to that. I do know that everybody scoffed at Euro Disney, but now, there are Disneyland amusement parks all across the world that are huge, and some of them even dwarf the attendance of the ones that we have in the United States. So it could be something that looks like Seward's Folly at first, but 20 years from now, we could be doing a podcast about the big NBA EuroLeague championship. So it's hard to say. I think right now it seems kind of interesting, and I guess that the interesting part to me is that he seems like maybe he's focused on some of the more some of the holes in that area that they've not been able to see the EuroLeague really penetrate into.
I think this is kind of steps toward what I think has been the goal of the NBA since the Dream Team, and that's this sort of having like a global league. I think that could be a vision for sort of in game, is that the NBA is worldwide and you have leagues on every continent that are specific to the NBA. I mean, we know about like NBA Africa, and all across the country. We know there have been, I mean, America isn't the closest ally with China, but there's been lots and lots of players. James Harden was just in China, um, going on a tour out there to promote himself and the league and all that. So I'm very curious though, and I don't think any of us can really answer this to all that well. But if NBA Europe comes in, I would be curious to see what the just local public's response is going to be to something like that. Like knowing that you have EuroLeague and that this league is coming to potentially like supplant that. Like it seems like that is the goal down the line. Not that another league couldn't exist, but if you're going to put NBA Europe in there and you're the NBA, yeah, you want that to be the top league in the region, no doubt. So it's direct competition, and they know this is being imported from America. Their loyalty is maybe more so to that EuroLeague and in that country, I would think, and it's all speculation on my part. But I'd be very curious to see how they do, and if there's sort of a resistance to that just outright. And maybe the NBA has to do something like you mentioned, Alan, like kind of spread some talent out. Like you get some NBA stars that could drive interest into those particular franchises. I think one comment I heard on a Bill Simmons episode was that this could be some kind of option for players that are aging to kind of go on tour towards the end of their careers. I don't know. I know the nature of the business in the NBA, and these guys are used to a lot of travel, but I'm not sure all these superstars, when they head towards retirement and the end of their playing careers, that they're going to want to do that in a country they've never been to, if they have the opportunity to not do that.
I disagree 100%. I think you take a look at
You
the
think
players.
they would?
Oh, 1,000. Look at Stephon Marbury. He was a god in China. Look at Dwight Howard.
Well, but Marbury, though, would have played in the NBA if been rejected.
Of course, but I'm just saying in terms of players that the NBA, they have a following within America, but it's very clear. Like I would say, Ben Simmons. I think his time in the NBA is probably coming to an end fairly soon. And this is my own bias, but him playing overseas, he's still a big enough star, has a big enough following. All of a sudden, if there's NBA Europe, there you go. I think there's an opportunity there for players approaching the end of their careers that have a huge following. Take a look at what's his name, JaVale McGee. I was like, players that are popular, to have a lot of media attention. But in terms of an asset of making your team better, GMs are going to pass on. They're going to go to Europe, and they're bigger stars. And I think, in thinking about this, my criticism of the league goes to the health of the NBA itself, in terms of how much marketplace there is available in America and North America, in terms of Mexico, right? In terms of Canada, in terms of Seattle, in terms of Las Vegas. I mean, there's still more opportunities for the marketplace here in North America. So when you try to open a league in Europe and you're trying to allocate resources already to a league, I mean, what is that? How's that going to happen? But I will say, to your point, Matt, I would say the game of basketball has never been more popular, and other leagues are thriving now. Unrivaled, Athletes Unlimited, even Big Three through their struggles. Big Three still around. I mean, you have the G League, I think, compared to at least growing up in the 90s. I mean, really the only league that was well known is the NBA. And now you have all these other flavors of basketball, and we're not even counting internationally. So I do think there's an appetite. I just wonder, from the person that's within, you're saying, Matt, the northern part of Europe, within the United Kingdom in particularly, having players that are like, what we have in MLS. And MLS, equivalent that would be the reverse, with
Right.
India, United Kingdom. Is that an appeal to them when you have soccer, the number one sport, clearly, in that region? I don't know. I find I am skeptical of that. But I do think the game of basketball is growing. So I just wonder, if I'm living in Seattle, I'm offended by this. If I'm living in Las Vegas, seeing the Aces and their success, I'm offended by this. And honestly, even within Mexico, I mean, there's a lot of thriving leagues there. I was talked to a player that's, in the G League, and they said the players are very competitive down there, and the fans are very much into basketball down there. I would say a team in Mexico would be awesome. In Mexico City or wherever, Guadalajara or whatever, pick a city there. I would just rather see that in terms of the opportunities here in North America than trying to, have a new league in Europe, in my opinion. I don't know.
Justin, I got to say before I throw it back to Alan, I think you won me over with the point about NBA players going over there. Like, it doesn't even necessarily have to be a perennial all-star
Yeah.
player that goes there and could potentially be, treated like a king, so to speak,
Oh,
in that area. That could be a potentially cool and appealing position for an end of career sort of player. Alan, any thoughts on what Justin added there about expansion and NBA territory, all these things?
Yeah, I mean, I don't even think it could be an end of career kind of move. I mean, look, if you told me right now I could live in Europe and make comparable money, I'd be gone. I'd be there right now. Um, there's a lot of, the political climate in this country right now is not very
Excellent point.
favorable to a lot of the people who play in the NBA. I, Europe is a very attractive option. I've been a few times and people are great. The climate is generally pretty nice. I and I mean, I I think that you could see current players go like, you know what, I want something different. I want my kids to grow up in a different place. Um, and I think that stuff factors in a lot. And if you've got enough money to be able to fly back and visit your family whenever you want, then it makes it a really easy move to make. Um,
For sure. What do you think about Justin's idea of kind of the NBA, I guess, keeping focus and eyes on the prize, like develop North America more before you invest overseas?
yeah, I mean, Justin and I have talked about that. We've talked about Mexico City is one of the largest cities in the world. It's a cosmopolitan, safe city. It's it's a great place to go and live. And people, throw all this stuff, cartels in Mexico and all this scary stuff, but it's not Mexico City. That would be like taking the worst spot in America and saying that all of America is like that. So uh, uh, I think that's a really smart idea. The only problem with Mexico City is that it just takes forever to get to, from just about anywhere in the United States. So the travel time is would be pretty rough. Uh, you would almost need to have several cities in Mexico have have teams so that you could kind of just do like the road trip through there. Um, uh, but in Seattle, Las Vegas, I mean, there's other cities that could support an NBA team, like Kansas City. I think has done it before. Um, uh, uh, we have Memphis, but Nashville could certainly support a team. Uh, Lexington, there's lots of places I think they could still expand to. And I'm not even getting into Canada. You've got, uh, you know, I know we tried Vancouver once, but that was more a mismanagement than anything else. Um, uh, so I do like the idea, just selfishly, of having more teams in North America. Um, uh, I'm not going to be able to watch any NBA Euro games because I'm way too old to stay up that late, so or wake up that early. So that's where I stand with that. I agree with you, Justin. I think focusing on that uh, expansion within the U.S. or within North America makes the most sense to me.
Justin, let me just ask one more thing, and then we can change topics here. But to play devil's advocate a little bit here, the NBA pulling in billions with this new TV deal. Could it be that Adam Silver is thinking, with regards to the criticism that you mentioned with, develop out the WNBA first, develop out North America before you go to Europe, all these things. With the amount of money that the NBA is pulling in, could I reasonably say, why not have it all?
That's true. Then prove it. Then why are we having an officiating issue in the WNBA? Why are we having a charter issue in the WNBA? These are professionals. Invest money into the league. I mean, that's where I see fit. If you don't want to invest money, if you don't see the WNBA as worth investing to, then get rid of it. I mean, that's within their prerogative. I mean, I don't understand how you have an investment and then I'm going to curse here, half-ass the investment. That doesn't really make any sense to me. So I've always wondered that. I'm like, you have this league as an asset in your portfolio. Why are you only allocating minimal resources to it if you want to see it thrive? And there's clearly an appetite for the WNBA with college basketball for years. You take a look at the biggest stars, clearly they have followings and, they make lots of revenue. As Sabrina put it, I mean, this is one of the first, Sabrina Merchant at The Athletic, I mean, we were talking to her. She was saying this is one of the first years where you can get players that have been traded. Their jerseys are available now to purchase. That was not the case a few years ago. Why is that? Why? I mean, to me, I just think they can have it all. Then invest in the leagues you currently have and then build out NBA Europe. They didn't do it all then. So that's where I have a problem with. If they're allocating the resources to the WNBA fully and we didn't have this issue of, constantly dealing with this inequities, then I'd be cool with it. But the way that the WNBA is currently thriving now and the potential for the league to grow, just seeing with like the Golden State Valkyries, this is a team that had no name players. This is first year in existence, and they have a hardcore following, and they're going to make the playoffs most likely. You can see it's possible without Caitlin Clark or Angel Reese or Cameron Brink. This is a team with no name star players, and the team's killing it this year. So this is clearly a league that can thrive without the mainstream media telling you that it's only reliant on a couple of people. So I just think with the NBA, just allocate resources to growing what you currently have as well. And then, of course, you can do it all. Absolutely. But they're clearly not doing it. So,
yeah, I think that's interesting to explore, too, because clearly the NBA has kept the WNBA in business and doors open. It just, they haven't allocated, I guess, enough resources to it to make it seem on par with the NBA. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, and why is that the case? I think there's a lot of just inequalities there for sure. Because clearly the players there have been because the mainstream media will want you to believe in that Caitlin Clark's the first like superstar WNBA player, the first marketable WNBA players. Well, that's clearly LI. Just taking, and I can just rattle off the names just off of my head. And I am not like the hardcore WNBA fan here, but we can just go down the line over the years of just crossover stars easily, including Diana Taurasi, who has a documentary on Amazon Prime right now. So, I mean, we can just go down the line of players that had opportunities to be crossover stars that were missed upon because of the mismanagement of the W, and now they have corrected that. And despite my criticism of Kathy Engelbert, I think there is a lot of positives that she has done. And this is hard for me to say because I've been one of her harshest critics, but just talking to other, journalists, they have really kind of enlightened me in terms of what she has done in this decade, even though I do believe there are some improvements that need to be made. So I just think overall, I can't believe I'm saying this, but I do think with Kathy Engelbert, even though I've had my harsh criticism of her, I do think that she has really capitalized on some key opportunities, and I feel like she can still do that in this era of the league. But the NBA has to fully invest in that, and I just think, if you had to pick between building this Europe League or seeing a league that clearly has, arguably the biggest star player, in sports, Caitlin Clark. And not only that, but the momentum that Paige Buckers has, Juju Watkins, multiple players that have crossover appeal while rebuilding out a league that could fail. Doesn't really make any sense to me.
Yeah, I mean, Justin, I'm going to say one name here of a player who was the biggest star in college basketball, male or female, when she was playing, and they fumbled the bag. She went to the WNBA right when it first started, won 4 championships in a row, and they never marketed her. It was half-hearted. That name is Cheryl Swoops.
Yep.
I mean, she was the biggest college basketball player during that time. She led ESPN in the 90s when she was playing at Texas Tech. She was the top story, and then nothing.
Yeah, there you go.
And I think if I could be so bold, I think the subtext of all of that in this conversation is that if the NBA is truly, if they were to start really aggressively pursuing like an NBA Europe, I think it's because deep down they probably see more dollar signs over there compared to what they see the potential of the WNBA, right or wrong.
I think
could
that's
be
foolish.
a huge mistake.
Yeah.
But I mean, isn't that what that kind of says if they pursue that action, as a business?
I agree. I think it's incredibly foolish, and especially to where, honestly, whether you're talking about the billions of dollars that the NBA has, why not just buy the EuroLeague? Why you create a new league? Just buy it. Like, you already have a sustainable model. Just buy it and just expand the teams in it.
I think that would go over a lot better for the fans that are already invested there, for sure.
Yeah, agree.
Compared to just coming over with NBA branding. I mean, even if you bought it and then it's the league, but you just change its branding, I mean, that might be kind of foolish, but at least it's still the same infrastructure and product that you were used to. It's a little bit less jarring.
To me, that makes sense. You have an existing intellectual property that has a hardcore fan base that you want to expand, like you were saying, Matt, into other parts of Europe. That makes perfect sense.
Yep. Well, we could go all day on this topic and really just about all. Well, I might not be able to go all day on the Jokic contract extension topic, but.
Agree.